Mrs. Green, I'm a PI, not a homewrecker. And I don't think your husband, in his line of business, would want to bed a dick anyhow. What? What is this word, man? Is there another meaning for this word that I'm unaware of? Her look was pure incredulity. A woman in that line of work? She questioned. I don't believe it. Nah. You don't have to believe it, I told her. But now you know my story. I want to know yours. Why are you here, Mrs. Green? Between shouted obscenities, I understood part of her story. Apparently, she had seen her husband leave my apartment, and, distraught, she had followed me all the way to Frankie's basement to confront me. She ended her tirade with waterworks, the tears ruining whatever rouge she had on her face. Frankie, ever chivalrous to a dimpled girl, came around the bar and held her up. Now that's all right, Miss Green. What? Wait, Miss or Mrs.? Mrs. Green. Shit, sorry. Now that's all right, Mrs. Green. Why don't I hail you a cab and send you back home? She agreed, and they walked together up the stairs. When Frankie returned, I said to him, "You turned night real quick." He snorted a laugh. Ah, hell. We can't have that siren in here. With a torture yelling like that, every street bugger would have come to her rescue. Mrs. Green is a torch singer? Well, I learned she was Mrs. Connor Green just now, when she came in here. I'd only seen her as Lil Fanny, singing lead for the jazz band at the Tin Spoon. The Tin Spoon, I said. Tiny Paul's joint. That's where Green is selling his liquor. Say, you think that's where she met her husband? I laughed. You're the real sleuth, Frankie. He made a sarcastic bow. I shook my head. You're telling me you escorted our little torture out just to avoid a bit of hot water? Frankie flushed and said, What are you talking about, Malone? I was never good with emotions, but it was plain that Frankie had instantly fallen for the girl. So what if I had more to squeeze out of her? I asked. What more could you possibly want from Lil Fanny? She can't have anything to do with Green's mess. I mean, sure, I don't want to contradict, right? Like, let me look at my notes. Connor Green had just given me a case that involved the bootlegging. I still wasn't sure if he'd be working Decided to head Southern Coffee, right. Okay. I mean, we have nothing so far. What's this? Arrival at Southern Coffee. Ah, that's her going in. Right. Okay. I considered Frankie's point. Maybe she was unrelated to this case. I shrugged and stood up from the bar stool. What had just happened was quite the ruckus. It seemed like my cue to move along. Well, not quite. What you mean? So this is the exit, I assume. Frankie was still behind the bar. If I was stuck on the case, a long drink with him might be helpful. Do I need to talk to him now, though? No. Okay. What if I sit? The bar stools were crooked and worn. My usual one was in the center of the room, of course. Because you have to be in the center of the room, don't you? I yarned to spin. Of course, the sauce helped keep me in place too. Once, I'd asked Frankie to lend me some cash from the register. He growled so fierce that I decided not to ask again. I didn't think his employers would notice before I got it back, but maybe he just wanted to save me from myself. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Okay, I think there's nothing else. You know what this? Reminds me of? By the way, this reminds me of. I don't know if any of you have watched. I mean, I assume you've watched. What was it called? I think it was called CSI, right? Like CSI Las Vegas, Miami, and so on. And I remember there was a. I don't know. I don't know if it was a flash game or if it was like a normal game. For CSI, which released like way long ago. And shit, that was my email. Let me stop that. Yeah, so there was this maybe flash game, maybe normal game, I don't know, based on CSI, and it was basically the same type of thing. Like you run around, you take statements from people, and then you look at clues and you try to piece it together. So, and I really loved that. But I was a kid when I played it, so I don't think it was that difficult. So we'll see if this is easy or not. But this very much gives me the same type of like vibes. Very cool. The worn stairs lead to the outside world. Alright, well, let's follow them then. I was heading up the stairs when Frankie called after me. So what are you going to do? I'd been thinking about Lil Fanny. I supposed even mobsters had people who cared about them, and she'd been wearing Lewis's old jacket, so perhaps Green and Lewis had been closer than I'd realized. I guess I'll take Connor Green's bait, I replied. I've got nothing better on the stove, and he might need the help. Something still stinks, though. Well, what's your plan? Frankie asked. The way I see it, I have 3 goals right now. And they are? Green hired me for a job. Find the guy who wrote the letter. Oh, sorry, there's a full stop there. Find the guy who wrote the letter. That's the basic part. But you want more? Asked Frankie. I nodded. Green's a shady character. I have to learn about him. Who is this guy? Dig in his past. I can't go back to him blind. And then there's something about his bootlegging. How'd Green get a connection like that? What's his source exactly? Squeezing that lemon might give me more juice. That sounds alright, he replied. So where is it you're off to now? I've got 3 leads. That bootlegger stable, who Green claims sent him the letter, the Tin Spoon Lounge, where I might learn more about Green's rum-running schemes, and Mrs. Green, who could give me more dirt on her husband. Frankie nodded his approval. Well, if you're ever stuck, come back and see me. You can never solve anything without talking it over. I smiled and went up the stairs. Okay, I was debating where to go next. We can go to the Southern Coffee, which is, I mean, that's where we were just now. Stable's Barbershop, Tin Spoon Lounge, Green's house. Let's go to the Barbershop. That's what they told us before. Green had suspected Redstone Stable of sending him that letter. Apparently, Stable owned the barbershop in the financial district. I figured there would be no harm in asking Stable about it directly. Alright, let's go there. Fuck it. I grabbed a taxi cab and told the driver where I wanted to go. I thought about talking to him on our way. Nope. I closed my eyes and leaned on the window until we arrived. The barbershop was down an alley in the financial district, opposite the red brick National Bank. The small bell above the door twinkled as I walked in. Okay. So let's start with the coat rack. The hat rack. The hat rack was a deep mahogany engraved with gold lettering that read Fraser & Co. Furnishings. Wow. Sounds expensive. The maroon leather chair looked comfortable. It seemed elaborate for a barbershop waiting chair. This joint sounds elite, man. Let's look around and then we're gonna talk to the person, I feel like. The modern hydraulic barber chair had always seemed ostentatious to me, but this one, with its soft brown cushions and gold embroidery, was the most ornate I had ever seen. Really? The two sides of the mirror's frame were cylindrical, painted blue, red, and white to look like barber's poles. They clashed with the otherwise elegant furnishings. Okay. Stable's cabinet was similar to my own, but where mine was a dull grey metal, his was a deep red wood that looked heavy. And there's this as well. The frame on the back wall contained the yellowed photograph of an old man. He had an authentic smile and held scissors in his left hand. Okay. Seems like there's nothing else. There was a tall man in the center of the room. He was wearing a flamboyant pink suit tailored to accentuate his stature, with a maroon bow tie and pocket square. I gathered this was Redstone's Stable. The man turned to face me. He grinned, and his squinting blue eyes made the smile feel genuine. I must apologize, he said. We do not take walk-ins. I asked him for a chop. I told him why I was there. I studied his face. Let's study his face. I studied his face. The wrinkles around his eyes indicated he was at least 40, but the rest of his skin was clean and smooth. He wore no hat and shaved his head completely bald. When combined with his smooth skin, it hinted at the look of a small turtle. His pink suits and maroon accessories only added to his eccentricity. He smiled and said, "How foolish of me. Of course, you are here for information, Miss Malone." How did he know? How did he know? Well, how about a drink? I asked, to get us started right. Stable's eyes lit up and he laughed. You are completely unlike the other sleuths. He poured me a whiskey and handed it to me. As I gulped it, he asked me why I was there, with genuine curiosity in his voice. Sorry, let me take a sip here. Do I ask about my notes? Sure, why not? Actually, no, I don't wanna... Green suspected Redstone Stable, another bootlegger who ran a barber shop during the day. Green had a lead on a new rum running scheme, a connection from Vancouver, The day before, okay. Yeah, let's ask him about that. How did you know my name? I questioned. He smiled again. He apparently liked smiling when he was pleased with himself. Barbers hear gossip from around town, Miss Malone. Sometimes that gossip is worth remembering. And what gossip had you heard about me? I asked. Just that the niece of the late San Francisco detective Louise Malone had resigned from her policewoman duties and started a private detection agency. But that was months ago, was it not? I confess I have not heard much since. See, did he know Louis? I asked if he'd known Louis. Not well enough, he said. I hear he did his job by the letter of the law, and I lost that alphabet years ago. Well, Miss Malone, he smiled. Will there be anything else? Maybe. Can I ask about evidence? I can. So I can ask about anything. Let's ask about the mirror, by the way. It's the one that doesn't fit with everything else, right? Yeah, let's ask about the mirror. I looked at the cylinders on either side of the mirror. That mirror is a sore thumb, I said. You seem above that sort of camp stable. Perhaps, he agreed, but sometimes I enjoy a reminder of the history in this establishment. What history is that? My Zaid. This store was formerly owned. That was the name of the achievement we just got. The store was formerly owned by my grandfather. He started with humble beginnings. My Zaid taught me the meaning of hard work and dedication. I am humbled by reminders of him. Well, Miss Malone, will there be anything else? Yeah. Let's keep asking him, man. Should I ask him about everything? I don't know. Let's ask him about the waiting chair. It's cause it's really really nice. I noted it as furniture, elegant trappings for a barber. Math was never my strong subject, but I can't see a barber making enough for all it is. He smiled. Yes, I have other methods of procuring wealth, but I do not engage in illicit activities, if that is your implication. You don't? I don't know if this is gonna, I don't know. The thing is, I wanna ask about this note, but I don't know if it's gonna, if we're gonna ask about Green, if we're gonna mention his name straight up, because that's probably not the best idea, you know? But let's see. Green claims you bootleg, I stated bluntly. His grin didn't waver in his response. Would you hang me on Connor Green's claims? I may partake in some gambling, and I may have a talent for it, but it is nothing illegal, I assure you. And you know nothing about Green's own bootlegging? I asked. See, this is what I didn't want. Why are we letting this guy know? Stable shook his head. I doubted he would ever answer a question straight. Well, Miss Malone, he smiled. Will there be anything else? Let's see. Let's ask him about other things maybe in the barbershop. No, we asked about that. Right. Barber chair. Let's ask about that one as well. And what was the picture frame about? Of an old man. That's probably his granddad. Yeah, that's probably... Let's ask. That's probably gonna be his granddad. I pointed to the picture frame on the wall. That your grandfather? I asked. Stable turned to look at the photograph and nodded. Yes, that is my Zaid, taken near the end of his life. I asked him further questions about his granddad, but Stable refused to elaborate. Okay, let's ask about the chair as well, and then that might be enough for now. Why not give me a cut? I asked. I don't see any clients around, Stable. I am sorry, Miss Malone, he smiled. To be completely honest, my gambling and business acumen give me a decent living on their own. The barbershop is a hobby, and I only give haircuts to close friends. And I can't be a close friend? Ooh, this is a better one. And you don't want detective friends? Or this one, actually. Maybe this is a bit too, on the nose, you know? Can't be a close friend. Fuck it, let's try it. And you don't want detective friends poking around? I asked. I never claimed not having detective friends, he said, just not the private variety. I see. So he has dirty cops. He has dirty cops. I don't think there's anything else we can ask here right now. I think we can just go to the... Whoopsies. I thought that would be equal to hitting back, but no. Nah. Nothing now, I said, and turned back to the barbershop. Alright, let's go check out one more location. Well, not one more location, I mean the next location. One door had a bell on top of it. Okay. Let's go to Tin Spoon Lounge. The Tin Spoon Lounge was a speakeasy bar in North Beach run by Tiny Paul, the gangster that Green had put in with. I'd never been there. The mob keeps a tight lip on their own houses, but I figured it would be a good place to chase Green's bootlegging story. Man, third cab in a day, huh? Yeah, we're not talking to them. I dozed in the back seat until we arrived. I opened the cab door in front of a North Beach warehouse with a wooden sign. The sign's text was too worn for me to decipher any of its English, but a small gray spoon was still visible below the letters. I rapped my knuckles twice over the large metal door. A panel just above my head slid sideways to reveal a pair of eyes. The eyes looked me up and down, then just stared ahead. They were black and held no emotion. The room beyond was dimly lit, so I couldn't see much of their surrounding face. I cleared my throat. Then a rumbling voice emerged from behind the door. Fill full your cups, feel no distress. At all our great thoughts shrinking less. I looked at the eyes, still unmoving. I understood. The doorman wanted a password. I thought I might have something in my notes that could help. I doubt we have something in our notes. I stayed silent. After a beat, the small window slid shut with a thud. Prohibition was a joke in San Francisco, and most speakeasies would let just about anyone through the door. But the mob ones weren't as relaxed with their rules. I knew I wouldn't enter until I'd said the correct response. I wondered who I could ask about a speakeasy password. Alright, let's go to his house instead then. Maybe we can find the password there. Green's house might contain more clues about his past, or some reason a threatening letter would come his way, and if I got lucky, Mrs. Green would be there to pump with more questions. I really like the aesthetic of this game. Yeah, no, don't. I closed my eyes in the back seat until we arrived. Excuse me. The Greens' apartment was a section of an old Western Addition mansion. The owners had divided it for struggling families to rent after the 1906 fire. Once downtown had been rebuilt, people of means moved out of the area. Recent immigrants, mainly from Japan, rented most of the apartments in this part of town. I knocked. Oof, look at this color scheme and everything, man. Like, I really like it. I really like the... I know that the art is pretty simple and all of that, but I'm digging it, man. I think it fits the type like of the game really well as well. I knocked on the front door, but didn't get a response. The latch was undone, so I pushed it open and stepped into the room. The fuck is that? The room reeked of laudanum. Based on the smell, I imagine she'd had enough opium to knock out a horse. Ah, okay, and we get to just touch uninvited. Alright, let's do just that. The grey trench coat was hanging in the doorway. It certainly looked identical to Lewis's. I searched the pockets and found no identifying marks. It might have been a different jacket, but its recent appearance was off-putting. The bottles on top of the round table were mostly empty. Goddamn. I opened the drawer of the backmost table. In it were 2 train tickets. I like how also this is really cool. So things that are further in the things that are further back are lighter in color. So I guess that's their way of creating the illusion of 3D space, or at least conveying the idea of 3D space, which is pretty cool too. I opened the drawer of the backmost table. In it were 2 train tickets. I mumbled St. Louis to myself, but then came the cackling voice of Mrs. Green. Ha! Forget about moving, Connor. I won't budge. Her head was raised, but her eyelids still remained closed. Okay, let's ask her. I asked her further questions, but her head just lolled back to where it had been. There was nothing else she'd say. Okay. The ashtray on top of the smallest table was overflowing with spent cigarettes. Alright, we haven't missed anything so far, yes? Yeah. I think I'll ask her last. Empty bottles were strewn around the apartment. I brought one to my nose and smelled the distinct aroma of laudanum, opium mixed with booze. A harsh tonic. And she's had a harsh life. A wilting plant was on the furthest table from the door. I could never keep plants alive either. Even as same, by the way, same. Even as the petals fell, they were still a vibrant yellow. Man, I can never keep a plant alive as well. Alright, let's see what she has to say. I found Miss Green slumped in her chair, eyes closed, head rocking slowly. Hello, Mrs. Green, I said loudly. She let out a long moan from the chair, then lifted her head, but failed to raise her eyelids. She tilted her head to the side, giggled, then let it loll back into place. I shook her lightly, and she moaned again, but said nothing more. So that's it. Head rocking slowly. Yeah. There's nothing else here? Huh. So I guess we need to go somewhere. I guess at this point we need to go back to the I mean, I really don't see anything else. So I guess we need to go back to the bar maybe. Talk to the guy. See what he says. Because we can't enter the speakeasy bar. We can't go back home. So it's these 3. From which I think this makes the most sense. And that's a good time to end it.